Hey everybody, it's Jody from Bird Dog Off Road Adventures.
And I am Evan with the Adventures of Rogers and Henderson.
Awesome. All right, we're running a little shorthand tonight, y'all, but Evan and I come up with a pretty good topic. Evan, you want to kind of explain that to him?
So we had a comment left on our YouTube channel asking for the differences in performance for different setups for the 6G Broncos that we wheeled with on the Rubicon Trail. So we had how many 4-doors did we have? 3.
So it was me, Mean Green, the guy that was pretty much stock.
So it was you, Jeff, and then Don. What's up?
Anybody?
And then I can't remember the guy with the other green Bronco.
Oh yes, the guy that had the doors off and had the nice wood fenders and wrap.
Yeah.
So there was 4 of us.
So 4 4-doors and 3 2-door 6Gs.
Yeah. And a wide variety too, because you think about it, you had 2 of the 4-doors were pretty much stock or near stock Sasquatch. They were 35s with, not a whole lot of mods. And then you had
Sasquatch.
Yeah. And then what Brad had his 2-doors pretty much a bone stock Sasquatch. I mean,
bone
everything.
stock.
He even had the Goodyear tires and everything on it. So we had a wide variety, at least, in our group, at least.
What's up, Matt? So, I mean, obviously not having a front locker was the biggest hindrance. And I mean, he still did as well as you can expect. I mean, because his weren't, what tires did he have on there?
They were 35s, but they weren't stock.
They weren't mud terrains either, though. Weren't they like a hybrid tire or an all?
Yeah, they were hybrids or all terrains. They weren't mud.
Right.
Mean Green Bronco. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm blanking, but he's based over in Palm Springs. I've met him several times at Super Sully East and here at the Rubicon. But yeah, if you look him up on the internet or on the Instagram, I can't remember. I know it's 35s because I remember looking at that. But yeah, he fucking, excuse me, language. He nailed it. There was a couple of spots that he would struggle a little bit, just as you'd expect with no front locker. And there's some spots I thought he did better than I did.
Right. Oh yeah.
Some of those. So, I mean, there's some spots he just went up it like it was nothing. And I mean, it's all about that line, guys and gals.
Yeah, I think day 2 is where Don shined with his. I mean, there were spots where I was slipping.
Day 1 was a confidence issue.
Yeah, day 1 was like a learning curve, I think, for anybody who hasn't ran it before.
Yeah, definitely. It's that, everybody's, you got the jitters, you're nervous, you have to pee every 10 minutes. Right. That's probably the best way I don't describe it. But, I'll just, Evan, if you don't mind, I'll just start and I'll just give my assessment, the question at hand. Given the mix we had and given, obviously there's some obstacles that were more 2-door friendly and 4-door friendly, but you know what? We all got through it. None of us had any major breakage. I only even think minors, a few people had some bumper adjustments and, and about every one of us had skid plate gashes, but, we all did it. And we all made it through. I think most of us had to be winched at least once. I know I did. So
you were the first.
Yeah, I think all of us had to be winched at least once. I don't know if Brad did, but I know most of us did. So but overall, I think we all did really good. And it's, to me, it's like, as far as the Rubicon Trail itself, I think there's some obstacles you probably have an advantage on depending on your wheelbase, but overall, I think you could do it either one.
Absolutely.
It's always going to, depending on how good of a driver you are, how good of a spotter you have, as far as what lines you pick, because we all did pretty good on it. I mean, there was some times it was stressful a little bit, but nothing that I haven't experienced before at Windrock or Dingle Boone Backcountry Byway. It's just a different environment.
Right. Yeah. I think the one
a lot harder.
the one commonality, like whether it was a 2-door or 4-door, there's certain spots where you're coming down and you're dragging your rear bumper no matter what line you take, no matter what you do, it's dragging. So, so then we had of the 2 doors, we had one that was bone stock, base non-Sasquatch or base Sasquatch, and then we had 2 that were on 37s. I think Mike's blue 2-door, his was a Badlands, and then obviously there's a base Sasquatch. So we both had the 37s, and then we both were hauling a rooftop tent through as well. And there was definitely, as much as I tried to mitigate having the extra weight on the Bronco, it definitely changed how it maneuvers. Like, especially dropping down things is a lot different than what it is without all that stuff on there.
Yeah. Oh, I'd imagine so. Yeah. Because how much does your tent weigh?
The tent and the roof rack is like 120 pounds total.
Yeah.
But then I had the spare tire carrier or the spare tire platform with all the recovery gear and all our cooking and camping utensils strapped on top of the spare tire, which was actually a lot heavier than I thought it would be. And then all the weight in the back. I mean, I don't know if you saw inside the back of our Bronco, but for 2 weeks, you couldn't see anything behind we had the fridge in there. Yeah. We had another one of those Yeti cargo boxes. We had Courtney's suitcase, my travel bag, all her camera gear. We had a battery pack in there. We had the camping chairs, her snack bag.
Blackstone.
The griddle.
I was about to say the cookware. Don't forget the cookware.
Yeah, and what else? Something else was jammed.
I don't know, but it was packed.
Yeah, it was packed. The bag with the heated or the electric blanket. It got to the point where I was so out of room that I was shoving like my air down bag kit thing was jammed between the hard top glass and the roll bar just to keep it up and up.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah.
That made more difference than I thought it would. The weight.
Yeah. Well, luckily for you, luckily for me, I only had one person, but having 2 dogs take up the whole rear seat didn't help me out much either. It limited my storage to just the rear only and the roof and the passenger seat. But yeah, still, I can imagine in a 2-door, it's probably pretty cramped. With 2 people, because we got double everything. But yeah, you got good use out of that griddle that she brought you.
Yeah, that thing is a lifesaver. I love that thing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Anybody his feet right down here dancing in the corner?
Hey!
Finally got to try out the jet boil, so it worked pretty good.
Yeah, everybody was using those things.
Well, like most people, a lot of people use them for coffee, but I used them for the dehydrated meals. But the funny thing is that one that I ate, the Peak brand that had the chicken Alfredo. I got home and I got a notice from Amazon because that's where I bought it off of, saying it had been recalled. And I'm like, whoop, too late now.
Whoops.
Thanks for that, guys.
Might as well just change the name of it to Colon Blue.
Matt, I do not have the rear seats removed in the Bronco currently. I had them folded down because on the seats on the 2-door, you get you can actually flip up the bucket part and it actually folds like flat, but you're still losing some height. So they're in there that way. They were folded down completely and stuff stacked up that way. I haven't removed the rear seats, but they are getting removed for sure. I wish I would before we
get back to what we're talking about. You had, like I said, you and Mike had 37s on your all's 2 doors. Me and I can't remember the guy's name. I suck with names, folks, just so y'all know. It's no disrespect. The 4-door guy that had the green wrap with the doors off and the advanced fiberglass hood.
Mike.
I can't remember his name. Real nice guy. I think he was on 37s. He had the same tires I did, but his were 37s. Mine were 38s, but the other 2 were 35s. So we had a pretty good wide variety. The classics, I think, obviously probably did a way better or less as far as clearance but I don't know about traction because I think I saw some of them kind of struggle in a few spots that most of us didn't have as much spinning, and it may be because of the wheelbase. I don't know.
Wheelbase, the track is different.
Yeah, but they were like, as far as like going over shit, as far as scraping stuff, they didn't have no problem at all. And those were some nice S rigs too.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna. Who sent the list? Is that Brad that sent the list?
But guys, while he's doing that, if you hadn't already, go to Courtney's page, Ventures of Rogers and Henderson. On here, they got 2 videos up so far. One with all the classics, which is a really good video, and Evan and Courtney just released the day 1 version of the Rubicon. Also, another great video. You can see me behind Evan just in case he dropped anything. I was there to pick it up for him, but
except for the bumper, you just get a radio call. Hey, your bumper's on the ground.
Oh yeah, that was when we were pulling into the slabs to sleep the second night. You came down just at the right angle or something, and I saw it separate from the truck, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was everything I could do to try to grab the radio because I was like, "Oh, I don't want him to rip it all the way off."
Well, and that's the crazy part. Like it made it all the way to camp, and I don't even know what I touched it on because so we went up over that one spot where the V notch is on the right and that crazy drop down is on the left. It was still attached there, and that was the last obstacle, like actual obstacle before camp. So I have no idea where I hit it, but it popped.
It must have just. I mean,
up after day 1.
Yeah, I mean it. I know when it happened, it hit it. You were hitting it pretty good as it was happening because it wasn't like it pushed it up. It was like it was just dragging it off of the back of your rig.
So like pulled it.
Yeah, kind of like it pulled it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean that's how it fell off. Is the bolts got pulled out of the plastic on the. I can't find the list. Somebody sent us the list. Everybody's contact information.
Oh, I don't know. Brad was collecting it, but I don't remember. I know I gave him mine. I don't think he ever sent anything though. But yeah, I mean everybody was great. You know, everybody was helping each other out. You know, JD and Chuck, they tucked back behind us there that first day just to kind of help out a little bit, especially when we were going around Little Sluice and is it Big Sluice right after that?
No, this was day 2. It was
okay.
I don't remember what the name of it is, but
I think it was either Old Sluice because there's Big Sluice is the one that has the hairpin, right? That was the second day.
This is the hairpin. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was Old Sluice, I believe. It was in between Little Sluice and I don't have all this shit memorized because I didn't even look at my map since I was following other people the whole time we were on it. But I know it was right past Little Sluice, that area. They jumped in behind us. And they were very good about jumping out and spotting us whenever we needed it.
Yeah. Erica, the topic tonight is the differences between the different 6G setups on the Rubicon.
Yeah.
Comparing the ones that were on 35s or stock versus 38s and 37s and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. And I mean, I know everybody's got opinions. My personal opinion, if somebody was to ask me, you know, hey, is my 6G ready to go on the Rubicon? My advice, you could do it with less, I'm sure, if you're a good driver and you have a great spotter and you're willing to stack rocks. But me personally, my advice is to have 35s, front and rear lockers. And a winch would be nice, but if you don't have a winch, make sure you're with somebody that does have one.
Which one
is it absolutely required? No, because we had a guy go through with us that didn't have a front locker. But, you know, it just makes it a lot less stressful.
Who would you say had the most damage overall? I'm leaning towards.
I didn't really see a whole lot of damage, at least not body damage.
Jeff crunched his tailgate up pretty good.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Did anybody lose a light? I don't think anybody lost a light, did they?
No, nobody lost a light.
I think Don had some damage too.
And Don had a little bit of. Who had the rocker? Somebody got the rocker panel.
Oh,
was that Mike?
I do remember that. That was the guy that had the Cactus Gray 4-door.
Oh, that was Jeff.
Is that Jeff?
Oh, did he get his rocker panel? I thought Mike got the rocker panel. Egos were definitely damaged.
Yeah. I remember it now that you said that because I remember them pointing it out when we were all sitting taking a break.
A lot.
Actually, we'll talk about scouts
Yeah.
later. Don't worry. But yeah, I can't remember which one exactly it was. I'm sure if I go through and look at the videos, I don't think people understand this too. Is that I can't speak for Evan and Courtney, but I'm sure they probably have a lot more footage than I did. But that's a lot of footage, and to go through all that, that's why we're all breaking it up to different days because it's just about hours and hours of footage. Because unlike most trails, like trails I hit in Tennessee and Kentucky, and I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way about a lot of the ones y'all have done. It's like you have obstacles and you'll go a little ways with moderate, then you'll have another obstacle. This was obstacle, rock garden, obstacle, rock garden. It was like there was no like
One giant obstacle.
Yeah, it's just like it was just obstacle after obstacle. There was no like stretch to
There
where
wasn't
you
a break.
drive.
The only time you got an actual break from doing an obstacle was waiting for the person in front of you to do the obstacle.
Yeah,
It wasn't like, here's a half-mile stretch of easy road in between. There, it just didn't exist.
no.
I don't remember if he had, but I can't remember which one it was that got the rocker damage. There was one.
Oh, he had a stock slider on, I thought.
Maybe. And see, now it's kind of a blur.
I thought it was one of the guys that had the stock sliders.
It could be. But there was an aftermarket set of sliders that got basically like.
Oh yeah, oof.
But now I can't remember which rig that was on either.
Yeah, I know on mine are frame mounted, the metal tech ones, but I noticed mine when I'd hit rocks sometimes when I go to get out and I would step down the slider to get out of the truck, I could feel it nudge down a little bit. But
on the ones, that used like a U-bolt style?
No, they don't. They don't use the same style as the normal metal tech. These are more like the RCIs where they have the bolts that go through the holes and like a huge mune washer, and they also have bolts going to the bottom of the frame too.
Okay.
I mean, they're pretty strong, pretty sturdy. It's just, and even though I feel it do that, just a little tiny shift, I'd get out, and I think you were with me one time when I tried to move the slider by hand, I couldn't get it to move.
Right, the whole was moving.
Yeah, but so that's like it was just kind of weird because I couldn't get it to replicate it when I would pull on it or jump on it. But I know a few hard smacks. Sometimes I get out, I can feel it just like even the slightest bit of shift, enough to where I can notice it. But I haven't been able to move it since then. I can go out here right now. I've jacked that thing up by the sliders a lot with that Elgato jack, to adjust coilovers and such, and never had that be an issue. So I think I must have just hit just right. But yeah, Matt, I'm not sure. I can't remember what type of slider that was damaged like that.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. I don't know if many people had body mounted or rock. I don't know if I was the only one with frame mounted or not. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say.
I don't remember which ones were on that blue two-door.
But I think yours are body mounted, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're an Expedition Motorsports, which they're proven.
And so like the way that the skid plates tie in.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. The way that it wraps around the body, and then it does have a bolt that it kind of pinches it. It can't go anywhere once you get the skid plates on.
Well, I know those Rock Slide Engineering sliders. One of the guys had those. I remember seeing that.
Maybe was that the green 4-door?
I think it was. I remember one person had them, and I know that like a lot of people have took those on there. The only video I remember the video. I think it was Caleb posted one where they had metal cloak sliders, body mounted, and
that was Corbin,
or was it Corbin? I think it was one of those two. Yeah, it was Corbin because it was Corbin and Jordan.
Yeah,
did a video where they had some issues, or one of the sliders I think bent up some. But I can't remember. That's going to kill us too because after we get off the air, we'll probably remember who it was and exactly what it was. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think with good body mounted sliders, I wouldn't put cheap ones on it. But like the ones you have, I think the Rock Slide Engineers, they're pretty proven. I just make sure you have good reputable brand. I wouldn't buy some knockoff from off Amazon or some shit and think that's going to hold up. It might, but I wouldn't chance it. Not with mine. But yeah, it was fun. The trail itself is like, it's just, watching the videos now, it's like, they haven't talked about this off the air. And I'm sure Courtney could agree. It's like, you kind of relive the anxiety because it's just like, oh crap, damn, that's a big rock. And then you're having to drive over it because if you don't, you have to put your tires over it and go off camber, because if you don't, you're going to tear the shit out of the underside of your truck.
Yeah, basically, there's so many squeeze spots. You have to take the highest line you could find, and if you don't square it, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, and the thing too, a lot of people don't realize, and I know I've seen this in other videos mentioned, but we can attest to it, having been out there now, is that those rocks out there, a lot of those rocks are slippery as shit. It's not like Moab to where it grips. You have that in the Rubicon, you have that real fine sand, that granite sand.
Yep.
And some of those rocks are pretty slick.
It's like granite.
Yeah. It's some of that stuff. It's a little trickier. So let's look at some of the comments here. Go ahead.
Apologize to everybody. I know I'm not looking at the right spot on the screen. I'm having to use my living room TV to see, because last episode, as soon as we finished with the podcast, I went to stand up and threw my laptop on the ground and it shattered the screen. So I'm doing all my editing for these Rubicon videos on my living room TV. So I can't look down here where I'm supposed to be, because then I can't see what Jody's doing. So apologies for not proper podcast etiquette.
Straight up across the kitchen.
Oh, Lord. Just trying to read up some of the comments here. Ego damage. I don't think so. I think most of us were pretty humble. I don't know. There wasn't anybody out there acting like they were hot shit or anything. I think everybody
I wouldn't say that. I went into it. I'm like, I think we're going to be okay. I had watched that Porsche SUV. Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna be fine. We got some killer. I'm like, this is gonna be easier than what I thought. And that gatekeeper, I'm like, this is not easier than I thought. This does not look like this is a video.
Yeah. Well, one good thing about driving behind you, I can see what you do and learn from it. Because I know there's one spot where you spun pretty hard, and I was just like, okay, I'm taking a slightly different line. Yeah. That's the good thing about being in the back. The only bad thing about being in the back is that when people dig shit out, you have to now drive through it too.
Well, that's true too. But again, also the part of it, like all so like day 2 was harder, right? But day 1, it felt like the first half of the day you're trying to figure out how you have to drive based on the terrain versus, like, again, what we're used to. It was different. So there was a huge learning curve for the first 4 miles at 3/8 of a mile an hour.
I'll be honest with you, I felt like a newbie again.
Yeah. Yep. Same. I turned to Courtney at one point and said, I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. Not like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, like, skill wise.
Yeah. Definitely says you ain't in Badlands anymore, Dorothy.
No.
Don't get me wrong. That's the thing too. It's just that now it's like I think about some of the trails here in Arizona, which Arizona has a shit ton of trails. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, probably the closest thing, even remotely, would be maybe back way to Crown King, and I'm like, it ain't nothing compared to what the Rubicon was. I mean, there's some hard obstacles. Don't get me wrong. And I'm sure Lower Terminator, you could make it a lot harder if you wanted to, but I was just like, as far as just a little relentless nonstop and the size of the shit you have to drive over, it's just like, it's a big difference.
So, like, that's the problem, right? So you're going to go do what everybody considers that's a hard trail by you. And you're like, this is boring as shit.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do after Everest?
Yeah. But the thing is, my luck though, this is where I'll go out and do something I think is easy now. And I end up breaking something.
Right.
I've already broke one thing, but I'm talking about, breaking even more.
Well,
right. I end up getting stuck, and they'll have all these other people drive by with no problem.
Right. Oh, Jody disappeared.
Now what, Peterson?
Look at Courtney's toes. Jody, where'd you go?
Is it even? Yeah, it's still going.
It's just in. Jody, what are you doing, man?
I don't know, man. Apparently, my internet
I
connection
didn't know
went
like
out.
that. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, internet connection went out. Apparently, sorry about that, guys. All right, anybody have a manual transmission? We actually had what, 2 or 3 at least.
Brad's is manual. Mike's
Yeah.
was manual. The green Ford.
The green 4-door, his was manual. He made me nervous though, because he was like whining, he was revving it up pretty good and giving it hell. I was just like, I would not have the balls to do that.
I mean,
Yeah,
I personally would not, and I would have enjoyed the trail less driving a manual trans.
Yeah, I'd have burned a clutch up probably for sure. And I'm good at driving a manual transmission, and that's what I started out with. First few cars I had, but I don't know on something like that.
I dealt with the manual on all my sports cars, but I've never had a manual SU or like a manual off-road vehicle.
Yeah. And huge shout out to Ed, our guest last week. Mr. Handyman, fixing his transmission with a pair of vice grips. It's like MacGyver.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. Because he said what he was doing. I was like, damn, that's pretty clever. It was like he had because he had to do a certain thing to get it to go out of each gear, but basically had like a vice grips or something, I think, on it.
Well, yeah. Once he got it in the gear that he wanted, he had to vice grip it into place so it wouldn't shift back out of gear.
Yeah. It's like MacGyver over there. Yeah. And some of the early Broncos, now they were having, a couple of them had an issue, I think, with their fuel filter, was it?
Fuel filter on one of them. And then
fuel line.
Kevin, when he blew his drive shaft, it took out the fuel line.
Okay. But he didn't do a lot of damage because he was able to drive after 2 hours. We were able to get him
they had to crimp a new. They had some braided line. They put a new fuel line in, and they had a spare drive shaft, but his is a different length, so I had to cut the drive shaft and reattach the U-joint on there.
Oh wow!
In the middle of the trail as it's parked on like a 45-degree incline.
Yeah. Well, that explains why it took so long. I didn't realize it was that extensive. I thought it was mainly just the fuel line.
Oh yeah.
No, it was gnarly.
Yeah, I'm glad them boys knew what they were doing.
On the middle of the damn trail.
Yeah, that's stuff you got to think about, guys. It's like a lot of people want to be old Tim seeing it, but that's back in my mind. I was kept thinking, I got to drive this damn thing back all the way to Arizona, and I'm not out here to show out and prove anything. That's kind of sometimes the reality has to hit you too.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't try bullshit corner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because y'all had to drive even a lot farther than I did. Y'all had to drive, 2-3 days?
It was 2 full days. It was 2,000 miles from Carson City back to Belvedere, I think. 1,800 or something. It was, I think from Tahoma back to Belvedere, it was 2,000 miles on the money.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a long-ass drive. So.
And again, we spent 2 days in Colorado and 2 days in Moab, and then we spent a day and a half in Nevada, and then 3 days in Northern California, and then that last stretch, basically from what's that city? And you go Laramie, and then you're in Nebraska, or you go Cheyenne, and then you have a little bit more like little hills peeking out of the ground, and then it's flat the rest of the way back. This is the most boring drive ever.
Yeah, I hated when I lived in Chicago going out west. It's like until you get to Denver, it's pretty blank. That's why it's always nice to have people driving along with you so you have people to talk to.
Right.
Of course, you and Courtney had each other, so I guess he'll makes up for that. But, yeah. Yeah, that's like trying to think. So I sort of say like the trail itself, getting back to what we were talking about, I think, the first day by far was the most anxiety ridden. The second day, like they said, and like you all mentioned in your video, was harder. But I think that given what we'd been through the day before, and basically, and I don't know about you guys, but in my mind, there's no way in hell I'm turning back.
No.
It's kind of like, let's just get this, pull up our big boy panties and go, so to speak.
I mean, essentially, once you're past the gatekeeper, I mean, as far as was concerned, I'm like, the time to turn around was before the gatekeeper. Otherwise, you're in it. I wouldn't want to go back out the gate. I think the gatekeeper was the most technically advanced part as far as the routes we took on the trail.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to take your time on big sluice. It's just a grind to get from the top to the bottom of it.
Well, that one area where we had to stack those rocks, that was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. What was? I don't even remember if that one has a name.
I don't think it does. That's the thing. A lot of, some of these videos I've watched too, and they're right. It's like you watch these videos on YouTube, and they'll name all these obstacles. The ones that everybody knows. What they don't tell you is the shit in between them is just as hard, sometimes if not harder, than the stuff that you see on most of the YouTube videos.
Right.
A lot of YouTube videos you see, people tell you, oh, there's bypasses and stuff. I was like, no, the bypasses on this thing, what little they are pretty damn rough too.
Right. Well, and that's so like I didn't want to leave. I don't know. The video for the day one from our perspective is as long as it is because the main takeaway that I noticed versus all the videos that we've watched of the Rubicon, people don't show you even half of what you're actually going to encounter. And I mean, that's what blew my mind the most is like, where was this in anybody's video ever? Like that's, I mean, it's not like it was like impossible, but I'm like, this is a significant obstacle that nobody ever films or they don't include in their video. So yeah, it's a 30-minute video, but like as far as I'm concerned, we showed spots that most people don't or haven't shown. So that was the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Day two was pretty straightforward. There wasn't. Well, no, that's not true. I had never seen that V-notch spot that we had to drop down. I've never seen anybody post any videos there.
We're talking about this one spot that I had to winch up it. I can't remember if anybody else did. Right there, as you're still overlooking the lake, you still see camp. Where it's kind of like a V, but you don't straddle the V. Where you kind of push into that rock.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about that spot, but I mean, I haven't seen that spot in videos either.
Well, and the other one, remember the one that where we had to go up and cut hard passenger, and then as soon as you got up, you're damn at 25 degrees.
Yeah, the one where I was just gonna like keep going, and everybody had to no.
Yeah, and I think when I did, I had to Austin Powers it. I had to like back up more, cut to keep. And then there was a part that, I mean, people were like, I felt like I was in an emotional support group because people outside my window were like, "Oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're not going to roll." Because I was just sitting there thinking like, "Holy shit, this thing's going over." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Tell me what to do, damn
it." The spot I was thinking of was the one right before Rubicon Springs. You have, you went through that real narrow cut where you got to fold your mirrors in, and then you come up, and then you can either go up, and then you have to make that gnarly, awkward off-camera drop down, or you have to go up the V-notch and not fall in.
Yeah. Like I did that on theirs, but they only showed the V.
Right. So like the side that the 6Gs took on that spot, I have never seen in the video. I've seen the V-notch side that Ed and JD did.
Yeah.
So
now the Trail Militia, they did that because the guy, the Green Raptor that's on their videos, he did it. And Eli, Pizza Boy Eli, who has a 4-door. I remember them saying something about, the 2 doors. That's one of the obstacles that's not 2-door friendly. And because of the way that thing is, because you're a lot more likely to have your tires slip like JD's did.
Right.
If with the longer wheelbase, it helps because you're stretched out over it farther, so you're less likely of having your tires scoot down on you like that. because I know the 4-doors did it, but I remember the guy, I don't know the guy's trail militia's name, the main guy, he had his 2-door that had the rock crawler kit on it when they did it, and he didn't do it in his, but his had the rock crawler kit, but he only had 35s. But I remember he didn't do it with his because of the wheelbase. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that in the video. But yeah, I've seen that one in a few videos, not many of them. Of course, Lightbright just shows you the main ones. They don't show you all the little stuff. But and the same thing with like Vaughn and them, they all show you the Soup Bowl, they all show Little Sluice, they all show the notorious ones, but I don't remember them ever showing all those smaller ones.
Right. Well, I mean, like, I don't think so after we left Soup Bowl, I mean, that whole descent going down into Buck Island it's gnarly and it's just long.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in our video it shows maybe 3 nights might be nicer than 2. It seems like everyone knocks out in 3 days, 2 nights. I mean, I wouldn't do 3 nights unless you intentionally want to spend 2 nights at one spot. Because
there's not really another great spot to stop, right?
No.
Well, I thought about that too the other day because I watch these videos, and most of these people do this earlier in the year where they have more daylight. And sometimes I guess people like Jeep Jamboree, they'll spend multiple nights there because just there at Rubicon Springs. But I mean, you could do that if you really want to just take your sweet time and not rush it. But I mean, that first day, and that's the only bad thing about us going in the latest years we did because it's getting dark early.
Right.
I mean, it's getting dark by 6 o'clock, especially with all those peaks and stuff there. We were cutting it pretty close on the first day. The second and third day, we had plenty of time.
Right.
But, yeah, that first day, we were starting to get a little nervous. That was one of the reasons why I think most of us decided not to do Soup Bowl is because we all knew that, the clock was ticking. And we started early that morning. And we started, about 8 or 9 or something like that? I mean, I know we all met there at 7, but I don't think we actually got rolling until close to 8 or 8:30.
Yeah, I think it was like by 8:30 we were definitely at the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
But so like one thing to remember, so the goal is if you start early enough, the goal is to get to Buck Island by the end of day 1. But we had a group of 11 and we did a lot. There was a decent amount of winching on day 1. So if you have a small, like say 5 rigs, I don't see a problem aiming to be there by 5 o'clock, right? If you're on the trail by 7:30, 8 o'clock, if you have a group of 5. So then you get there by 5 or 6 o'clock, you have all night to hang out and relax at Buck Island. We didn't get on the trail until 9 o'clock on day 2. And then we had a 2-hour break for that fuel line, and we stopped for the photo op on the bridge for all 11 rigs, and we still rolled into Rubicon Springs no later than 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we had plenty of time that day.
And then so everybody hung out and had fun at Rubicon Springs, and then we hit the trail at 10 a.m.
9.
I think it was 9:30 somewhere. Yeah.
And then what time were we off the trail for day 3?
I want to think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because the only time we really stopped was down the observation point.
Right. And then I had to stop to tighten on my spare tire carrier.
Yeah. But I mean, at that point, we were pretty much on a forest road almost.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what it was. So, I mean, you could camp 3 nights, but you're going to be spending 2 nights at either Buck Island or Rubicon Springs. I mean, they're both beautiful spots. So if you enjoy camping just for the sake of camping, by all means, either of those spots are a beautiful place to camp.
No light pollution, so you can see the Milky Way. I mean, you can see the sky full of stars, so to speak.
Did you see after the weekend after we were there, they had like a killer view of that comet from Rubicon Springs? The Rubicon Trail Foundation posted on their Facebook page. It was a cool shot, but I'm like, that's pretty badass. Or they had, or was it I can't remember if it was the Northern Lights or the comet, one of the two. I'm like, we missed seeing that down there by like 3 days or some shit.
Yeah, I know the Northern Lights. They were back down farther south after I got back. So I'd probably been over a week because I can remember people in some of the northern parts of Arizona were talking about trying to go look for them. But yeah, so but either way, yeah, that would be a good place to. Like I said, there's no light pollution because there's no street lamps, and everybody's usually off the trail before dark. Uh, that's something Ed and our group that was on with us last 2 weeks ago suggested, and I definitely agree with him. I would not want a night wheel on the Rubicon Trail. You're going to break shit because you can't see everything. You're probably going to get hurt.
Boss lady said there was. I mean, he said, right at the drivers' meeting at the start, he goes, "I don't like wheeling at night. We're going to do everything in our power to not do that." And she said, "I'm not doing it." So
I've had enough night riding on Trail 16 at Windrock. We don't know.
Yeah. Plus, we're in bear country too. You got to remember that. Might not be a good idea to be out there walking.
Right. So, we intentionally, as far as schedule, because our main thing was we gave ourselves over a week to get out there, so that's why we stopped and did all the fun touristy things on the way out.
Yeah.
We absolutely had to be off the trail and on our way home by Tuesday night. So I gave us 3 full days on the trail just in case. And then because she had to be home for a wedding, so we had to be back in Illinois by Friday. So I gave myself a full day cushion, extra drive time than what was needed. And when it was just you and me doing it, I'm like, okay, the two of us, we can probably get on and off the trail in 2 days if we're not putzing around. Yeah. But I wanted as much cushion in case I broke something, so that way I had time to get her to an airport to fly home to be to the wedding and figure out towing arrangements to get the Bronco back to Illinois. Luckily, none of that needed to happen, but yeah. I would say 3 days is the perfect amount if you're not intentionally just wanting to spend an extra day camping and hanging out.
But yeah, I think the 3 days, 2 nights is probably the best for planning purposes, because you never know if you're going to break something. Nobody ever plans on breaking stuff. Right. Even if you're not there acting like a jackass, you can still break stuff. It's that type of trail. It's always a risk. Yeah, I would definitely budget on 3, even if you want to do it in 2, which I guess if you've done it multiple times before and everybody with you's done it multiple times, you're all well equipped. You all know how to drive. You're familiar with the trail. Kind of more of the ins and outs. It probably wouldn't be a stretch to do it in 2 days and not feel like you missed out on stuff, but you want to soak it all in too. I mean, this is a beautiful area.
And the other thing is depending on your build, I wasn't going to try it, but there is that optional loop too that is supposed to be pretty. Yeah. Like the views are supposed to be fantastic, but it's a technical loop.
Yeah. Maybe if I had something trailer.
Right. Right. You got to have a little bit of trailer confidence for that part.
Yeah. But hey, people can say what they want to about the new Broncos. I know a lot of people rip on them for the IFS and, this and that and some of the recalls we've had. But you know what? There's not many stock vehicles you could drive halfway across the country, do a trail like the Rubicon Trail, and then drive back home. And everything's back to normal.
Be comfortable.
Yeah, and be comfortable. So,
until your air conditioning quit working.
Oh, it's fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with the trail, I assume, right? Or was that just
I don't know. I don't know if there was a relay that got bumped loose, just banging it around all that we did, or if there was some of that fine silt in
It's still not working.
It's working.
It's been too cold here to know.
I just used it today. It was 85 degrees today.
All right, no marital discourse on the channel, guys.
I'll get the test tomorrow and let you know.
Feel free.
All right. If I see mascara running, I'll know it ain't working. No, even that, I don't think that's probably something you can directly to the trail. That's probably just something that happened. My headlight, that Alpha Rex light on the driver's side, that second night when we were at the Springs, it wasn't working for some reason. The daylight, the running light, the circle.
Yeah.
But it's worked fine ever since then. I mean, it still works because every time I pull up to something where I can see a reflection, I always look to make sure it's on. So I don't know. Like I said, I think that you're bouncing around, and keep in mind you're bottoming out hard.
Oh yeah. It'll
There was
wrap the teeth out.
Yeah, there was a couple times I expected to get out and see my whole front skid plate caved in. There were some hits that were that hard. I was just like, shit.
I mean, I was expecting on some of those where you drop in and you're just slamming to the ground. I'm like, these are spots where glass can shatter. Because people were having with the hard tops, they were having problems with their rear glass shattering.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be careful about packing stuff too, because if you have stuff back there that's moving around, it can definitely do that. But yeah, and hell, I know most of y'all probably don't know this, but Evan could probably attest to this. When I had ADS switch out those rear shocks before I left to go up there, prior to it sagged in the ass. Well, they basically just converted it from a 2-spring system to a 1 big spring system, and they posted it on their Instagram page where it sets like full height, like definitely 3 inches over Sasquatch in the rear end of that thing. Even when it was loaded down, it was high. So the ass end of that thing was sitting pretty high, and that stealth bumper gives quite a bit more clearance than the stock bumper, and I was still scraping shit.
Right.
Multiple times. I scuffed up my moose knuckles. On some of those, like a dumbass, I didn't take them off before we started. But I mean, you're going to scrape, unless maybe if you're on portals or something, I can see maybe getting by with minimal scraping. But if you're even with any kind of suspension lift, you're going to scrape. You're going to scrape a lot. So vest and skids.
You're going to scrape the your lower control arms, the rear lower control arms on everything.
So funny story. I think remember if we touched on this last time when Ed was on with us, Evan. But the joke of the trip while we were on the trail is that Ed and them went on farther up because they were still dealing with his transmission issue. So they went on straight to Buck Island while the rest of us were like playing around. And they said they could hear us coming. They knew the 6Gs were coming because they could hear all the scraping on the rocks coming down the hill.
The UHMW did fantastic.
Yeah.
It actually the underside looks brand new still.
Yeah, they did good. I think a lot of people try to write those things off as a gimmick, but they do really good. They do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, you're scraping a lot, and you can hear the difference. Like mine was fairly quiet anytime it was actually the UHMW making the contact. But it definitely, you don't feel like you're grinding across whatever you're stuck on. You're just sliding on it. I wish they made the rear diff skid with that on there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to lose another, 3/8 of an inch of clearance. But at that point, we're losing it on everything anyway.
Yeah. How is your shock mounts doing, and your UCA mounts on the underside back there?
On the rear upper links?
Well, the rear lower links and the shock mounts down, the ones that hang down.
The shock mount, everything on the axle side is fine. But the driver's side, rear lower control arm on the frame side, so right underneath where the driver door is, that's been beat up since Windrock.
Okay.
So instead of it being straight, if you're looking at it, it's flailed out at the bottom like that.
Yeah. I noticed a little bit I got under and looked at mine after the Rubicon that you could definitely see where it was scraped on the shock skids, if I got from Wild Horses, and the Metal Cloak lower trailing arm skids that are on the axle. I could tell because you can see that silver,
right,
that fresh shape, mostly on the edges. I could see where mine hit because I was curious if yours did too. Yeah, I don't remember hearing you scrape it much.
Yeah, the diff skid got the crap beat out of it.
Yeah.
Or it's what it's for.
Yeah. Anybody got any other questions they want to ask? Oh, something I did want to bring up too is that the time that you go, I think here's some of the general consensus I've heard, and Evan, feel free to chime in if you disagree or agree. from what I've been told from many people that have done it, is that you don't want to go right after like Jeep Jamboree, um, and because you have all those people on there spinning out, digging holes. It's pretty washed up. Uh, I would not want to do it on a weekend. We started Sunday morning, and as
And
Evan would probably, yeah, I mean, we saw quite a few bit of traffic Sunday morning because everybody was coming out of Buck Island towards Loon Lake. So we passed a lot of traffic that day. But the other days, I think we only saw a handful of people. We had those people that passed us after Big Sluice
mhm,
when
that
we were
white Jeep.
yeah, that white Jeep. We had the people before him too, though. I thought, and that was pretty much it. I don't remember.
We had that other 6G Bronco show up after everybody was already set up at camp.
Yeah, we were all set in camp. There was a wild track, and he was with I think another Jeep, wasn't he? Or a Jeep, wasn't he?
No, it was an old Bronco, wasn't it? Like a '90s Bronco.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know they went past us. We were at the slabs, and it was getting dark, so it was kind of late. But they went past where we were at. We were at the slabs, which is just past the Rubicon Springs main area. But yeah, I do remember them. They drove by. They didn't stop. I remember we made out the 6 gen was a wild track. I thought it was like 2 or 3 cars overall.
There might have been another one. I just am like, wow, there's another 6G here.
Yeah.
No, our base doesn't have a factory skid on the lower control arm mount. No, it needs one. It needs one though. Was it Baja Kits makes a reinforcement for the lower control arm mount on the frame side?
I think JCR does too.
Maybe. I know Mitch has one on his.
Yeah.
But then on the axle side, there's a bunch of different options you can go with. Courtney's got Lobo on hers.
Nice.
They get
Courtney, are you gonna take yours there next time?
hell no.
I'll walk. I tell you what, if you take yours out there, I'll hike the trail with the camera.
No.
She's thinking about it now.
Absolutely not. She's 100% not thinking about it. I told her I'm not taking hers back to Badlands either until we get a fuel tank skid on it.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't forget it didn't have that on it.
I didn't know it either until we had it up on. I don't remember why we had it at Tom's, but like it was after I put my skid plates on, I went to take a look at hers to see it. I'm like, wow, mine are really beat up. I wonder how hers look. And I'm like, wow, hers aren't beat up because there aren't a skid plate there. Isn't a skid plate there?
Yeah, watch out! The grammar police gonna come for you.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So when you going back, Mr. G? I never say never, but I'm not got any plans right this moment.
I would 100% go back.
I know that the Arizona group has been bugging me about wanting to go with them next year, but it's going to depend on schedule. There's other events I want to do too. So we'll see. Definitely want to do United by Bronco this year since it's closer. And I want to do the Supercell West or Colorado next year, which depends on when they want to go. This time of year wasn't too bad. It was cold at night. I mean, when we went, we were in mid-October, right week before Supercell Nevada. It got pretty chilly at night, but during the day, I wore shorts and t-shirt, and I felt comfortable.
All right, it was perfect.
Yeah, it felt during the day. It felt great.
If it was hot at night, I would have been miserable.
Yeah, and I don't know how it is in like the heat of summer. I mean, you might talk to some people that have gone through that time of year, but yeah, I mean,
it doesn't even melt off of there until middle of June, right?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those high altitude places, they usually have snow, depending on how bad the snow was during the winter. No, in Colorado, those 14-foot peaks, they're not cleared off till like late July sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, but it's very beautiful. The weather was perfect. Like I said, if you go during the week or try to do it mostly during the week, you avoid a lot of that traffic. I'm sure during the summer, heat of summer, you're probably getting a lot more people, and there's not a lot of room on that trail to pass people. I think majority of people go Loon Lake to Homa, but I was watching a video, Venture Rome, his videos. They went like the week before the Jeep Jamboree, and one of the problems they ran into when they were going out of the springs, going up Cadillac Hill and Observation Point, was that they were running into all these people that were hauling their little trailers down to the springs, delivering stuff for the event. And they got you could tell by their tone of voice, they admitted they were pretty frustrated because it seemed like they were meeting people way too often, and they were having to stop. And going up Cadillac Hill, you don't have a lot of room.
No, there's none.
Yeah, it's Cadillac Hill's nothing to sneeze at.
No,
There's some spots on it that were that are a little gnarly. I mean, it's not a cakewalk by any stretch, especially if you're stock. But I mean, it's I don't think it got to where what I consider mild till probably after the observation point. And even then, there were a few areas, like at one area that we had. And I'm sure it doesn't have a name, but it wasn't far long after the observation point to remember we had to climb a few boulders or a few rocks.
Yeah.
And it was cool, but it wasn't nothing I think even struggled on a lot.
Was there any vehicle either in your group or other where you went, seriously, you're going to do the Rubicon with this setup? Not really. I mean, Don, like I said, Don didn't have a front locker. I'm like, damn, dude, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with that, I was just like, I probably wouldn't want to do it without one. But then again, like I said, he did fine.
Right.
I mean, he struggled a little bit that first day, but I think it's because I think it was his first time on the trail too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but he the second and third day he drove it like a champ.
For sure.
We were all impressed.
There's that last obstacle right before you get to what actually becomes the Forest Service Road.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty. I thought it was. I'm like, oh, this is pretty challenging. Like this one, the last hoorah before you're just on bumpy dirt road. And like we were like guiding, like spotting each other through it, and then he just like, I got it, and just.
Yeah, he did pretty good, man. I mean, like I said before, my personal opinion, and that's just based on my comfort level. And I'm not an expert driver by any stretch. I'm not as good as a driver as probably me as you all are. But for my comfort level, I would definitely want front and rear lockers. I would want a winch, especially unless you're with some people that have them.
Sorry.
I would prefer to have 37s, to be honest with you. You definitely want full skids.
Yeah.
I think the factory skids worked fine. I would rather have. I would not feel comfortable with that transmission skid having that big gap. So I would definitely maybe fill that gap somehow. Right. But other than that, because the factory skids aren't too bad. They're still. I mean, they're. A lot of people are quick to upgrade skids. The only reason I upgraded is I did because I went to aluminum to save weight and because I lived in Chicago at the time. But
I mean, I specifically bought those skid plates because we were doing this trip.
Yeah. It's kind of elated. I don't know about you, Evan, but I feel kind of elated now because this whole past year, everything I've done that thing has been geared towards that trip. And now that we've done it, it's just like, oh man, it's almost like you don't have nothing to look forward to, but I'm sure I'll find other things to do. But we'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up still. A lot of things you can't do. It's just you have to decide if you want to do them.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on in Chicagoland nowadays other than the winter starting to settle in?
Nothing really.
The Bears still suck. Yeah. I guess somebody brought the Scout. I think it was Erica earlier about the Scout. At least nice looking vehicle. Not gonna lie.
I reserved one.
Yeah, I thought about it, because by the time production didn't start 2027, so you're probably looking at a 28 model, I would think.
Right.
Depending on how quick they are at production and how far in line you are.
I mean, I don't know whether or not I'll take it when it shows up. Like, that's the problem is you always deal with these CGI renderings, right? So, like, yeah, it looks cool for what they've digitized, how it looks in person, how the interior quality. I mean, they don't even have a defined price on it, right? So for $100, that's refundable up until your order is processed and your vehicle is actually like in production. It doesn't hurt to reserve one if they're cool. The two-door will be paid off by then, long before then. So
Yep.
it'd be a cool daily driver, and the Bronco can sit in the garage. Well, if I take the rooftop tent off of it, and then drive that. And if it's not cool, just either cancel it or sell your reservation to somebody who still wants one.
Yep, exactly. That's kind of the way I look at it. If I was going to get one, though, I'd want to get the one with the gas motor, the recharge.
The range extender.
Yeah.
That's the one that we reserved.
Yeah. I thought about it. I hadn't yet because I'm going to wait till probably after the holidays, see how my finances are, and I might reserve one. But like you said, the Bronco will be long paid off of by then, so we'll see. Who knows what life's going to be like in 3 or 4 years, but $100 is a small price to pay to get in line. And like you said before, you can always change your mind if you decide you'd rather go ahead and get something else,
Right.
Always do that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, buddy?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. Well, hopefully, I know Derek and Monica, they're still in a mad rush to get ready for SEMA. So be sure and check their channel out as well. They'll have plenty of rig updates for the SEMA build that they're working on. They're doing quite a bit of stuff to it, and they're trying to do it in a small pad at a time. So, can't wait. Very excited for them. I know Milton couldn't join us tonight, but hopefully he'll be back next time. And we'll see you guys.
I will be on the normal computer screen also.
Yeah, there you go. But I'll be honest with you, it looks just as good with it the way it is, so I wouldn't be in a hurry.
Well, it's giving me a kink in my neck to keep rubbing.
Courtney, you need to go back here and massage his neck during the broadcast.
I'm rubbing your feet right now. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, at least she has comfortable feet. Anyway, on that note,
thanks for joining us, everybody.
Peace.